Hello, this is Emily. Welcome back to my channel, and it's that time of month again to do my monthly reading wrap-up video. Now, in the month of June, I had a very successful reading month. I read 5 books physically, listened to 14 on audio, read 2 mangas and 2 graphic novels, totaling 23 books. So I had a pretty hectic reading month, but I'm glad I got a lot of books down on my TBR. Now I'm going to go into them really quickly and just kind of give a brief overview of what I thought of each book that I read this past month. The Guncle was a 5-star read for me. It was a really heartwarming read following Patrick, who ends up taking in his niece and nephew for the summer after their dad has to go to rehab and the death of their mom. So very sweet, heartwarming read, and I definitely would recommend this one. I read The Willful Princess and the Piebald Prince by Robin Haw. This is just a little short novella, kind of a prequel of sorts to the farcier books, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it was a 5-star read for me. I tackled Mr. Impossible by Maggie Stifider. I probably butchered that. And this is the sequel to the Dreamer trilogy, and it was okay. It just didn't live up to the hype as much as the first one, so unfortunately this was only a 3.5-star read for me. I read Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. This was a very enjoyable read for me. It was a solid 4 stars. I read the nonfiction My Own Words by Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and this was a very enlightening read and was a solid 4 stars for me, and I did enjoy it, though I did find some bits and passages to be a bit repetitive, because I noticed a lot of her speeches would reuse phrasing and words from previous speeches, relaying some of her accomplishments. So of course I kind of felt the repetitiveness there, because if I got it the first time after hearing it 10 more times, I'm like, I don't really want to hear it again. So unfortunately that's why I dropped a star. Read The Less Than Epic Adventures of TJ and Amal. This was a 5-star read for me, and it's a really lovely graphic novel, and I enjoyed watching the relationship grew as they kind of went on a road trip across the country. I read Blood and Honey by Shelby Mahiran. This was a 4-star read for me. I didn't love it as much as the previous book, though I still did enjoy it. However, I felt a lot of this was kind of a filler for a trilogy, when probably a lot of it could have been made into a duology instead of trying to cram all this into a second book. But I still did enjoy it. I read The Damning Stone by T.J. Klune. This was the 5th book in the Tales of Verania series, and we take the focus off of Sam and our focus on Justin's narrative and his love story, and this was a great 4-star read for me. I really did enjoy it. I read Hollowpox by Jessica Townsend. This is the 3rd book in the Morgan Crow series. This was a 3.5-star read for me. I enjoyed it for a middle grade, though middle grade is not my go-to genre, so they tend to not be ranked as high unless they actually like blew me away, but I still thought this was a really enjoyable and cute read. I read Dark Rise by C.S. Peckett. This was kind of a slow starter for me, so I was struggling to kind of get into it. But once this pacing finally picked off, this story like blew me away. But it was 4 stars for me, and I am looking forward to the next installment in this series. I read The Scorpio Racist by Mackie Stifider. I can never pronounce her name correctly. I'm probably butchering it. But this was a 3-star read for me. It was okay standalone. However, I just felt like the tropes and genres just kind of older. I might have enjoyed it when I was younger, but now that I'm an adult, I didn't enjoy it as much as I probably would back in my teenage years. Read Gulliver's Travels. I am struggling to say that name, by Jonathan Swift. This was an okay classic. Definitely dated, but it was a 3-star read, and I did enjoy listening to it. I read the 3rd volume of Cells at Work, solid 5 stars, and I really loved learning more about cells and kind of continuing on with the series. I read the 1st volume of Platinum End. This was a nice starter to the series, though I kind of did not like that it ended on a cliffhanger, and this was a 4.5-star read for me. Read A History of Wild Places by Shaya Earnshaw. And this was a really like intriguing kind of mystery with a magical realism twist, and I was really intrigued to figure out what exactly was going on with this story, because the big reveal and everything kind of left me dumbfounded. So I was kind of surprised about that happening because I was thinking it was going to take a different twist than what it did. I read the Vagina Monologues by Ensler. This was a book. I saw the play several years ago. My university had put on a production of it. And so I kind of wanted to read the book to kind of see how the production and the book kind of lined up together. And I did really enjoy this, and this was a solid 5-star read for me. I read So This Is Ever After by F.T. Lukens. This was a 5-star read for me, and I really did enjoy the story and just the whole gang and everything, and kind of seeing what happens after you defeat the evil wizard and kind of picking up life and all of that. So great read and really enjoyed it. I decided to reread the first volume of Heartstopper just to kind of compare how it was to the Netflix show, because it's been so long since I've actually read the series. And I really did, of course, enjoy it because it's a reread, so it was a 5-star reread for me, but I did like being able to compare the differences between the show and book, so it was great doing that. I read Blood-Sucking Fiends by Christopher Moore. This was an okay read. I gave it 3 stars, and I did kind of like the wacky story, but then again, some of the stuff I was kind of bored with, but I think I might pick up the next installment in this series. I read The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. Unfortunately, this was only a 3-star read for me. I just felt like the plot was kind of cliched, so that's why I didn't rate it as much. I mean, for a middle grade, I'm sure it's a stellar middle grade. It's won an award and all that, but unfortunately, it didn't rank high to my reading taste. I read Love and Other Disasters by Anita Kelly. This was a 3-star read for me, and was kind of following these people competing on a cooking show and the romance that unfolded while they were competing on a cooking show. Unfortunately, it was mediocre, so that's why I only gave it 3 stars. I read Prince of the Sorrows by Kellen Graves. I thoroughly enjoyed this first installment and can't wait for the next one to come out. And this was a solid 5-star read for me, and I really love the Fae universe created here. Finally, I read The Antidote for Everything by Kimmery Martin. This is a book following the dilemma where doctors are faced with treating trans patients or losing their jobs. This was a 4.5-star read for me, and I thoroughly enjoyed this book and love the story and issues that it brought forth in this contemporary novel. Well, that's it for today's video. I am proud that I was able to tackle 23 books, and I hope that July brings me much luck in reading, just as these past few months have done, and I don't hit a slump, which I probably just jinxed myself by saying that. But anyways, I guess that's all. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, feel free to click the like and subscribe button down below, and I look forward to seeing you guys in my next video.